Welcome to The Wobbly Middle, a podcast for women rethinking their careers in midlife. This week's a little different because we're getting out of the studio. It all started when I opened my notebook last year and realized that my goals for 2026 were depressingly exactly the same as the ones I'd written for the year before. And I want this year to be different. There must be a better way to keep these goals front and center. Something more present, more visual, something harder to tuck away in the drawer. So I called Rebecca Newman. Rebecca is a contributing editor at the Financial Times with expertise in investigative wellness. And having been struck down with post-viral fatigue through her teens, she's all about helping the rest of us make the most out of life, be it gut or brain, body or soul. Rebecca's celebrated for rigorous, evidence-based reporting that cuts through the messy world of well-being, and she's agreed to turn that lens on the messy world of my inner life. When I floated the idea of a vision board, I half expected skepticism, but Rebecca was all in, and that's where things get interesting. Hi, Rebecca.
Patsy.
Hi.
Oh, lovely to see you. How are you?
Rebecca suggested we meet in Oxford's Radcliffe Square. It's one of the most photographed spots in the city. If you've ever watched Inspector Morse, you'll know it straight away. Students cycling over the cobbles, the Radcliffe camera in all its pomp, and the university church with its 13th century tower. So what's the plan?
Well, Patsy, I thought we could go up here.
We're going in? She means the church. I thought there'd be cake.
We're going up.
Exciting. Up! The morning was definitely taking a turn for the worse. Clarity, it seems, is not lift accessible. Are we the first up? No.
Oh.
Right. May we have 2 tickets, please? You can see all the walls where all the hands going up have worn it down.
Good gargoyles.
I think this is the tallest tower in Oxford.
Is that a bird?
We'll have to go up quietly.
This is incredible.
It's quite tight. We're being escorted up the stairs by 2 pigeons. They're showing us the way.
I think it's getting tighter.
Oh, definitely getting tighter. You're not claustrophobic, are you? I thought we'd be paging through magazines. So tell me why you brought me here?
Because look at this.
It's spectacular.
Oh, there's nothing like a fresh perspective.
The Radcliffe camera. It's looking all beautiful in yellow.
Oh, and those columns with the acanthus. And the sun reflecting on that sundial. It's so interesting how you can see the progression of time.
You know, every woman I've spoken to on the Wobbly Middle says the same thing. If you want to work out what to do next, you have to make time for it. And yet we tell us the same things over and over again. There's no time, I've got no time. But here we are, standing at the top of a tower that's 800 years old, looking out over a city that's, 1,000 years old? There is time.
Mm-hmm.
I think 2026, my year of abundant thinking, I want to stop thinking of time as a scarcity and stop thinking that it's something that I squeeze out the edges of my life. Time is the thing I do have.
The funny thing with time is it's so elastic. If you squander it, it just runs away. But if you really know where you're going, I find it stretches and you suddenly have more time to achieve whatever goals you set your mind to. But it's all really about having that focus, that clear sight line of what you want to do with it. I think that we should consider more how we choose where we put this focus. The brain's constantly selecting what it lets us know. But if you prime your brain, if you tell it what your priorities are and what your goals are, suddenly you'll find yourself heading more efficiently and quickly in the direction that you want to go with time to achieve all that you want.
So we can retrain our brain, is that what the neuroscience is saying?
We can train our brain, and the way that we train our brain is an action board, a visual representation of where we want to go that speaks to our subconscious brain. Right now, Patsy, might that visual representation look a bit like carrot cake?
And coffee, yes, indeed. I'm beginning to suspect Rebecca may also be a mind reader. We're down from the tower, and before the lactic acid sets in, I should probably explain what I mean by a vision board. At its simplest, it's a collection of images you choose to represent where you want to head next. And crucially, this isn't about manifesting without effort. Vision boards tend to get bundled in with this idea that if you send your wish out into the universe, then the universe will provide, ideally in the form of a lottery ticket falling from the sky.
I think that is a very common perception, and I think it's a lovely thing to debunk right at the top. And in fact, I think that's why what we're going to try and talk about are action boards, because the point is it's work that will pay you back tenfold, but it's about doing the work which enables you and your brain together to take you to where you want to go.
In this episode, we're very consciously standing on the shoulders of Dr. Tara Swart. She's a renowned neuroscientist, medical doctor, a best-selling author, and a senior lecturer at MIT Sloan. And she's done more than anyone to explain the neuroscience behind how visual prompts can help turn intention into action. First, I'm going to ask Rebecca about the research Tara lays out in her book, The Source. And then we're going to put the neuroscience to the test, which means heading to the craft room and seeing what happens when theory meets practice, or rather when scissors and glue meet corkboard. So if you're ready, let's start with our brains. Tara speaks about how our brains hold untold potential in the billions of neurons firing away, but equally, how our brains can also confine us. I ask Rebecca to tell us more.
Tara Swart talks about a negative mindset. If you approach a new goal with a negative mindset, you're already in your own way. It could be that at the moment you have a whole load of beliefs that are holding you back. Many of us have negative self-talk, or perhaps you haven't articulated why you're not getting where you want to go. There is a host of ways in which you can understand what these are, use neuroplasticity to overwrite those pathways, and then you can also set yourself the goals. And with the motivation and the direction, that's when you can achieve.
So part of the action board is getting the visual stimulus to prime our brains for change.
Yes, the brain receives so much information, and in order to cope, the brain does this thing called selective filtering. It will filter everything that it doesn't deem important to your survival, firstly, and then not a priority for you. So if your subconscious brain is not aligned with your conscious brain, it could be filtering the wrong things. So the first step is to understand selective filtering and then selective attention. So if I said to you, Patsy, have you seen any yellow cars today? You might say no, but now I bet for the rest of the day, if you see a yellow car, you'll notice it. It's similar with this selective attention. And there's a third part of that, which is called value tagging. So you're not just noticing, but you're actually prioritizing with a value tag, say the three things that are really, really most important. And once you've told your brain that they're important and reminded it with your action board, then your brain will notice and will value tag positively the things that are important to you.
Tell us how that works with the action board.
First of all, you've taken the time to really consider where you are and where you want to go, because when you're choosing your images and your goals on your action board, you want them to align with your own personal values. Then you can articulate on your action board the images where over the next year you really want to go. So it could be anything. Tara talks about this lady who really wanted a divorce, and she had this image of a lady at the bottom of a mountain, just about to climb it, but looking strong and looking ready. And for her, it really symbolized the whole journey and the strength and possibility that she had.
Is the visual element of the action board one of the key things?
Yes, there is a very direct link from our eyes to our brain. So if we read words, it goes through our logic, but it's not direct. Anything visual hits straight into our subconscious. Rangan Chatterjee, the doctor who does the Live Better podcast, he compares it to sublingual vitamin B. He says if you take a vitamin B pill, it has to go through your whole digestive system. Whereas if you take sublingual vitamin B12, it goes straight into the bloodstream. And anything visual, it goes straight into the brain. And something that we then look at, you're priming your brain with really very little conscious effort. You're actually directing yourself towards these goals.
Right. Now that we know what's happening in our brain when we make the action board, I've corralled 2 good friends and a stack of old magazines, and we're going to work through what goes on the boards, where they should live, and crucially, what happens after that. First up is Kate. I ask her what she makes of action boards.
I'm a terror for making New Year's resolutions that are far too general.
Okay.
They're just so non-specific and doomed to failure. So I think they're quite good because you have to be more specific. They have to be more forensic.
And what she's going to pin on hers.
I've made my bullet point list. One of the things I really want to include is values. My values as an individual, rather than just the things I want to achieve. Because I have an overwhelming sense that I used to have a very clear code of my values, and that those seem to have slipped from my mind. I'm not saying they've slipped from my life, but I don't think about my values as much as I used to. So they have come up with my...
Oh, that's really interesting. And I suppose as you build whatever you're building, then knowing those...
Yeah, I want to make them primary.
And now over to our second lab rat, Alana.
I fully believe it's a neuroscientific principle that when the brain can visualize, you're more likely to get. In the same way that imagining using a muscle is almost as good as using it because of the power of our mighty brains. So the thought of having this up in front of me to hold my incredibly scattered mind in a destination is extremely pleasing as a concept to me. Knowing where I'm going, I never know where I'm going, which of course means that I never get there.
Watching Kate and Alana, my hands start to itch. And before long, it's a free-for-all. Rebecca and I abandon any remaining journalistic distance and get stuck into our own boards.
I think when I started my first one, I went very surface, and it was the fitness, and it was I want to have lots of lovely dinner parties with lots of lovely friends. And one of mine, for example, is really cherishing my time with my parents as much as my children. Actually, to cherish that as something really special. And I think also more broadly, for example, I did a beautiful meditation this morning about a tree. It was about how you root into the ground and you connect with the earth, and how you root up into the sky and the light goes onto your leaves and you're energized and you're connected. And it was such a beautiful image, and it's not a value, but I think also those larger ways that you want to move through the world are really cool things to put on there.
In terms of what we are actually pinning to our boards, our guiding light, Dr. Tara Swart, suggests it's a mix of the specific and the symbolic. Mostly it should be images, but if you have a particular number, say what you want to earn, Tara says put it down. She talks about being pushed by her own coach to aim higher, to double what she thought was realistic. And then she watched that goal materialize. She says she's seen it happen again and again. Equally, she says it doesn't have to be literal. A visual analogy can work just as well if it captures the feeling, the values, or the life you're moving towards.
So it doesn't have to be money is a pot of money. It could be someone living lavishly, or it could be whatever echoes and resonates with you.
The picture of the tiger is a sort of generic travel picture. My dad lived in India and really loved it. I really feel I want to go and see why he loved it so much. Yeah.
Again, going back to the book, the idea that the way it's laid out can also echo. So, for example, if your life is too busy, if you make a more spacious and calm board, it will remind you of the joy of a calmer life. How about you, Pat?
The tree also came up for me, and I've got a massive board, but I want to actually build something up over the year into it. So I'm really into William Kentridge at the moment, and he does a lot of collage. You can see that this picture is made up of different sections as he's made the tree. And so I want to think a little bit more about a collage tree growing throughout the year.
Oh, that's lovely. So it's not even a static, fixed action board. It's a sort of growing evolution.
When I did a bit of research into it, it said actually the best thing is to return to it every 2 weeks and change it and make it kinetic.
Oh, really?
Check in with it, check if you're doing what you have promised yourself, but don't be afraid to add or change or move.
And then there's the question of where it actually goes, which, let's be honest, for most of us means overcoming the not insignificant challenge of hanging something on a wall at all.
You want it in a place where you see it in the morning and the evening because your brain is in a squidgy or hypnagogic state where it absorbs particularly these images.
Can I just ask the what state?
Very loosely put, when you first wake up and when you go to sleep, your brain is in this receptive state. And so there's this thing called the Tetris effect in the book. If you're watching or playing Tetris, the game, late at night, your brain will slightly be playing Tetris when you go to sleep, and you might even dream about blocks falling.
Yeah.
And it's that thing where if instead of playing Tetris, you put, here's this goal, or here's how I want to be, or here's me winning a marathon, or whatever it is.
So you embed it.
Then you're actually embedding it such that that value tagging is deep in your brain.
Can I put it in my office? Is that too high-vis?
My interpretation is that the ideal is you have it in a private space, that you see it twice, that it's symbols, not words, because the symbols resonate. However, if there's something that resonates with you, or if there's a place that it works for you, I think you take it and you own it.
And now, with our action boards complete, with our brains primed and our intentions laid out, what next?
You've got to start living it.
Yeah.
And I like the final line from Oz's Glinda the Good Witch. You've always had the power, my dear. You just had to learn it for yourself.
Our innermost desires are now out there on a board. We've got to go for them.
So go make your boards, get them up, and then next year we'll climb the tower again. Seeing where we want to go won't get us there on its own, but it's a way of keeping our goals front and center, a daily point of orientation, keeping us facing forward. Thank you for listening to this bonus episode. Please share it with your friends. And if you make your own action board, send us a picture. We'd love to see it. This episode was produced by myself, Patsy Day, and Rebecca Newman. Studio recording by the Pod Collective. Thank you also to the St. Bernard's Road Craft Room and to Luke Rogers.